This is a YouTube video prompt for social justice. It's kind of just like defining different terms and giving examples of them. So let's talk about each term. Ignorance. Ignorance is the lack of knowledge, education, or awareness. An example of ignorance is, quote unquote, we've always done things this way, so we should continue to always do it that way. This headspace excludes groups with newly given rights, like LGBT groups, who have only had their rights for 50 years. People could attack them and get away with it back then, but now people can go to jail for attacking LGBT people. The person making the above statement is ignorant or lacks awareness about the new consequences for doing things in the old way. And the reason why it's important to talk about ignorance is because when we as a society begin to talk about ignorance, we encourage people to have an open mind about the differences between others, and we develop more patience for the outside world as well. That's how we evolve, and if we didn't evolve, we wouldn't have the freedom we have today. And don't think being white excludes you from this. If we didn't evolve, white people would still be somewhere in Europe looking for a new world. That means no declaration and no rights for them either. So let's move on to stalking. Stalking is a repeated pattern of behavior that includes following, watching, or harassing a specific person. An example of stalking is approaching one's workplace, home, or school, or by contacting them by phone, mail, email, text, or social networking sites after they've told you to stop. The reason why it's important to talk about stalking is because most of the time it's linked to other life-threatening crimes. When friends, family, neighbors, and colleagues know how to identify stalking, we can help create a safer environment for all. So what is hacking? Well, hacking is when someone who tries to get into another person's computer using computer viruses that can hurt the other person's computer. An example of hacking is, quote unquote, I hacked into my ex-girlfriend's computer, but I used her mom's phone number so she wouldn't know it's me. The reason why it's important to talk about hacking is because hacking, like stalking, can be linked to other crimes like hacking into someone's bank account and stealing their money. So what is bullying? Bullying is when someone purposefully tries to hurt another person by simply making them feel uncomfortable or actually hurting them by kicking, hitting, pushing, slapping, or tripping. An example of bullying is, quote unquote, I noticed you were working hard in class, but I bet you still forgot the answers to the quiz. The reason why it's important to talk about bullying is because bullying can make others feel isolated and alone. And these negative feelings can impact the way they eat, sleep, and perform in school. So what's the difference between bullying and discrimination? Well, bullying can happen to anyone, but discrimination happens when a person is bullied because of some aspect of their identity, like the LGBT group mentioned earlier. Let's look at the earlier example of bullying. Quote unquote, I noticed you were working hard in class, but I bet you still forgot the answers to the quiz. Now let's look at an example of discrimination. I noticed you were working hard in class, but I bet you still forgot the answers to the quiz because your immigrant dad doesn't know the language. See the difference? The reason why it is important to talk about the difference is because, unfortunately, bullying does not inherently refer to illegal behaviors. So it's important to talk to someone you trust to help remedy the situation. On the flip side, discrimination does refer to illegal behaviors. So it's important to talk to a professional like a school guidance counselor or the principal.